Hello everyone, Stanley here, and welcome back to another Bedrock Edition tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build some very simple and cheap tunnel bores for ancient debris mining in your Minecraft world. These things are very easy to build. They'll clear out an absolute massive area underneath the nether, allowing you to find tons of ancient debris for all of your netherite crafting and creating. And these things are designed to be very TNT efficient as well. That way you don't need to farm as much gunpowder or mine as much sand in your Minecraft worlds. Overall, I'm pretty happy with how these things have turned out, so hopefully you enjoy these in your Bedrock Edition worlds. So let's check out the system in more detail, shall we? It's actually a really simple little flying machine. It has 3 to 4 main parts. The main part is the engine on the backside. Whenever you open up this trap chest, it will move the entire system forward, launch a TNT to the front of the build, and then that'll blow up additional blocks, of course. The second section is the flying circuitry. This actually controls the activation and launching of the TNT. And then the final section is, of course, where the TNT lands. We're using a couple ancient debris and some anvils up here because these things are blast resistant and will never get blown up by your TNT. So it's kind of a perfect little spearhead to the flying machine. So we can actually go ahead and replace this trap chest with a target block if we want to. And then we can kind of activate that from a distance with a bow, and as you can see, the TNT just gets lit, flung forward, and then it can blow up anything that is in front of it. And you basically just keep on repeating that process. Eventually you'll find some ancient debris, and of course you can tie these tunnel bores together and clear out an absolutely huge area. This is from 4 tunnel bores, and this thing is about 43 to 44 blocks wide and about 15 or so blocks tall. As you can see, the actual tunnel bore machine required to make this huge cavern isn't actually that complicated. It's simply 4 of the miniature tunnel bores tied together with 1 line of slime blocks across the backside, and that's really all there is to it. It's as simple to use as the basic mechanism is. It works really well, and you get an absolute ton of ancient debris from this. Within about the previous 30 to 40 blocks, there's already 45 ancient debris. So as you can see, you do not need to use the system for that long to get a ton of netherite in your Minecraft world. If this is your first venture into ancient debris mining, I would highly recommend that you check out my other video on how to find ancient debris as well. That goes over all of the mechanics behind it, where ancient debris generates in the Bedrock Edition worlds, and I also show you a pretty decent method of finding ancient debris in that video using beds. Of course, beds explode upon impact in the nether, and that gives you a very cheap way to clear out a pretty large area. Now, of course, the main con of using beds is that it is very manual. You gotta go make a bunch of tunnels manually, you gotta place down beds, you gotta like get blown up in the face with a bed, and there's a ton of fire everywhere as well, which can cause some slight client-side lag, and it can also hide the ancient debris too. Now, as you can see, these tunnel bores over here leave behind no fire at all. You will have the occasional bit of lava because lava pockets generate all over the nether, and of course there's also these blackstone blobs that generate at the lower parts of the nether as well. These things, if they are directly in front of the TNT, will get blown up and won't be an issue, but any of the blackstone blobs that generate between the tunnel bores won't get completely destroyed. So at worst, you'll need to remove a maximum of a 3-block tall area of blackstone, 1 block directly at the same level as the slime blocks, a block above the slime blocks, and a block below it, simply so that your flying machine doesn't run into it. Honestly, this isn't really that big of a deal, and you'll be running around to remove all of your ancient debris anyway, so as you're out there collecting your ancient debris, you can just knock out a bit of the blackstone. Massive thank you to HT Detonator for sending me this tunnel bore design that we got behind us. Detonator sent me this lovely, simple, and very functional and well-working tunnel bore that you see here. As you can see, we can activate it with the same little trap chest. It just kind of works perfectly, and there's not really any issues with it. So I tinkered around with this design for a couple of days, trying to cheapen it and just overall change it up a little bit to just kind of have fun with it. So I created a version 2 that you can see right there, a version 3, a version 4, and of course the version 5 that I'll be showing you how to build in today's video. Now the main things that I've changed is the engine on the backside, just to make it a little bit less bulky and a little bit simpler and just use less blocks more or less. And then I tried to change up this circuitry right here. I could not get anything else to work. This works really, really well and very reliably. And then I changed up the main spearhead of the design as well. The original uses 3 ancient debris, this one uses 2 and an anvil, and this one is also a little bit more TNT efficient as well, simply because the TNT lands further off the edge. So as you can see, about 3/4 of the TNT is off of the edge, allowing the TNT to break more blocks going downwards and upwards and just overall all around the TNT, whereas with the original, the TNT lands about halfway on the edge, which prevents it from breaking as many blocks. Pretty minor little change, but it does have a significant impact on the build. So a couple of additional details about this build. This is specifically designed for the nether and mining out tons of netherrack. Netherrack has a very, very low blast resistance. However, you could use this machine in the overworld as well. What you need to do is you need to put these modules much closer together. They would need to be about 4 to 5 blocks apart, I believe. On a completely separate note, I do see one main way to make this system much better and use much less TNT. Right now, it doesn't use that much TNT simply because the modules are 9 blocks apart, but it still uses 1 TNT every single block that it moves forwards, which is a lot. So what my idea is to make this exact system here only fire TNT every other block, which would significantly reduce the amount you use, or maybe make it fire a TNT every 3rd block, for example, and that should still break the same number of blocks in front of it, but with using a lot less TNT. I have no idea what I'm doing when it comes to slimestone, and in general, I'm a small brain, but if any of you smart people out there know how to make this system do that, let me know. I would love to see that in action. Without further ado, let's hop into the tutorial, shall we? Down in the description of the video is a materials list that shows you everything you need to build this in your worlds, and let's hop into it. So the first thing that you want to do is mine out a small area down at Y level 12. This needs to be 23 blocks long, it needs to be at least 3 blocks wide, and it needs to be at least 4 blocks tall as well. We'll need to carve out some slight sections here and there for additional slime blocks, but this is the main area that you'll need. So this is the direction that our tunnel bore is going to be heading in. This tunnel bore can go in any direction that you want, it doesn't matter, so just pick a direction, and we're going to start building. Start by placing down either a target block or a trapped chest, it does not matter. We're going to place down a normal piston facing forwards right there, 2 slime blocks right there. We're then going to place down a sticky piston right there with a slime block in front of it, place an observer facing downwards right there, slime block above that, and then a normal piston facing forwards like so. And this is going to be the main engine of your flying machine, and now what we need to do is just mine out this layer of blocks going all the way to the front of our build area, that way the flying machine doesn't get stuck to it. And we also need to mine out the 2 blocks below this area as well, simply so those slime blocks don't get stuck to it either. So now that the engine is installed, you may have activated it by removing those lower blocks, in which case it picked up a piece of netherrack. Just go ahead and break that. And now we're going to install the next section, the logic section. So place a temporary block right there with a sticky piston facing upwards, 2 slime blocks above that, and then you want a redstone block right there, and then a slab above that, ideally made out of stone. We're going to put a regular piston facing forwards right there, an observer facing that redstone block, and then we need ourselves a slab underneath that observer, 1 observer facing that slab like so you can see its eyes right there, and then we need another piston facing forwards right there, just like that. So that is what your system should look like. And now it's time for the next section. We're going to go ahead and remove that temporary block right there, place in a solid block right there with a block gap between it and that observer. We're going to place a slime block above that right there, and then you want a dispenser facing upwards, just like so. We'll fill that up with TNT later once we know the system works properly. Go ahead and put in 5 lower slabs in this area, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. We're then going to place in a slime block right there, solid block above that, 2 ancient debris right there, which you might even find from clearing out this room, and then simply go ahead and put in an anvil. This anvil has to be going sideways like this. If it is churned like that, then your TNT is going to fly off the front of the build, and that's not a good thing. So make sure your anvil is facing sideways, just like so. And that is your build now completely done. We can go to the back side and open this trap chest. The entire thing will move forward, and now we know it's actually functioning properly. If it doesn't move forward, or if something gets stuck, then make sure you've built it correctly. Now we're going to need to go ahead and break that piece of netherrack right there, and we also need to clear out this entire row of netherrack going to the front of the room. That way the flying machine doesn't pick it up and get stuck. The final thing to do for a single tunnel bore is to simply fill this thing up with some TNT, and then we can go ahead and activate that trap chest on the backside. That's going to blow up the entire front of the area, and it's going to reveal all of these beautiful blocks. You can pretty much just go ahead and sit here, even like on top of the slime block if you want to, and then just keep on activating this thing. The fastest that you can activate this system is once every 4.5 seconds. That way you don't mess up the TNT on the front of it. One extra note here, the spearhead of your flying machine should be at Y level 13 when you're standing on it. If this is any higher, then you're going to be breaking the ceiling just high enough that the lava lakes are going to flood down on top of you. So make sure you build this at the highest at Y level 13. Now keep in mind, if you are using a trap chest for this design, you are going to be aggroing all of the piglins in the area anytime you open it, so it is a good idea to swap that out for a target block and instead use a bow and arrow with infinity, or maybe a loyalty trident to activate that thing, and then you can activate it from wherever you want. Removing lava is a very important part of this process. Lava can completely absorb the explosion of a TNT. As you can see, that didn't break a single block in the area, so make sure you remove the lava, and you might also find some ancient debris hiding behind the lava too. So what if you're not happy with having a single boring lonesome tunnel bore and you want a bunch of these guys tied together in sequence? Well, what we need to do is we need to rebuild this central section right here and the sphere head 9 blocks over. So we're going to count over 9 blocks from this redstone block. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're going to go 2 blocks forward. So this right here would be where your next redstone block is going to be, and of course we're just going to completely rebuild up that central piece of circuitry. So as you can see, you just simply need to rebuild that main circuitry bit and then the sphere head of the build as well. Remove your 9 counting blocks, and now we're going to extend an arm off of the main engine and connect that to our secondary flyer. So we need to put 8 slime blocks off the side of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we need a normal piston facing forwards like so. You'll notice that that does not line up with that flying machine, as that is perfectly fine. We're going to place an observer facing downwards right there, which will be powering that slime block to activate that piston. We're then going to go ahead and put a slime block a block forward right here, and then extend that across so that it lines up with the build. Put yourself a normal piston facing forwards, and then an observer facing downwards like so. And that is how you tie together 2 sections of this build. You'll notice that there is a couple blocks gap right here. That's fine. Once we activate the main machine a couple times, then this one will also start activating. So go ahead and put some TNT into your secondary dispenser, and then activate the main flying machine a couple of times. You should notice that that section over there gets pushed forwards a block, and that is exactly what you want. So keep on activating this, and then that should get pushed forward, and bam, you are now ready to go for having 2 of these things tied together. You will of course need to make sure that you mine out a little row of blocks in front of the machine, just so that this piston right here doesn't get any netherrack stuck to it. So we now have a 2 tunnel bore machine going. If we want to add a 3rd section to it, then we basically do the same process over again. So we have a 9 block gap between the secondary machine and the 3rd machine. This one is 2 blocks forwards from that one, and the push limit of pistons is 12 blocks. So a single piston can only push 12 blocks. As you can see, this right here is already 4 blocks, so we're going to add more to this until we get to 12. So that would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then put a piston for 11 and an observer there for 12. Go a block a gap forward, and then we're going to build another arm basically. So go over until you line yourself up with that machine, put yourself a piston right there, and then an observer facing downwards like so, and that is how you would tie together your third machine. So now you can put some TNT into your third dispenser, activate your main target block over here, that will push together everything, and now we have 3 of these things running in tandem. And hey, you guessed it, the same process applies for adding a 4th machine and a 5th one, and so on into infinity. So just to really drill the point home, this section of flying machine right here is a total of 6 blocks. So we're gonna add 7, 8, 9, 10, piston for 11, observer for 12, block gap, that is 1 block, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, add your piston, add your observer, and now we have 4 of these flying machines all tied together just like so. Activate the original, and all 4 of those will move forward and start blasting away. And now for some troubleshooting. There is always the chance that some blocks can get in the way of your flying machine and possibly stop it from flying. So as you can see here, we got a couple pieces of gravel in front of that observer. First thing that you want to do is just remove those blocks, and if this piston is stuck out, you'll need to place down a button, activate that, and now your system is good to go. And what do you do if a block gets stuck to one of your main arms? As you can see, we have a black stone here, so this one can't push forwards. What you need to do is remove that black stone block, place a button onto that dude, or otherwise activate your observer, and then that'll push all of the rest of the sections forwards, and then you can continue on with your wayward son. Another situation that you might find yourself in is there's multiple blocks like ancient debris on the front side of your sphere head, which has jammed up one of your tunnel bores. This is very easy to fix as well. Remove all of the miscellaneous blocks. You'll need to activate this piston right here with a button to push that section forwards, and then you'll also need to activate this one here with a button to push that section forwards, and now your entire flying machine is good to go. And as you can see, this machine does work beautifully well. We've already found 12 ancient debris just from mining out this small area. Some of them will be hiding in the ceiling, some of them will be hiding in the walls, so make sure to really scope the area out. You may also want to consider adding a texture pack that makes the ancient debris a lot more obvious and easier to find. But that's pretty much going to do it for today's Bedrock Edition tutorial. Thank you again to HT Detonator for showing me the original design, and if you have enjoyed today's video, then make sure to leave a like, possibly subscribe if you are new here, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, then let us know in the comment section down below so that we can help you out. I'll see you guys down in the comment section, and in the next one, thank you so very much for watching, and then there was silence.